more than just a living, y'all. Hell, it's our way of life. We're the last of the cowboys to giddy up gone, boys. 18 wheels on the concrete, it's a slow and dying breed. Rolling like Jesse James, a modern day outlaw game. If you're out here riding with me, come on back and make some noise. We're the last of the cowboys.
Welcome back to the Merging Lanes podcast, the podcast where we have conversations and share stories of inspirational and passionate people in the trucking industry. Mark Colson, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. What have you been spending your time on?
Oh man, well, so I am like you know, I'm in physical therapy school, clinical rotations. I'm graduating in December, and so this section of school, we've got 3 10-week clinicals at different places, and I just got done with my first of the 3 clinicals. This is week 1 of second clinical, so I'm rolling downhill. I am bleeding, dirty pants. I'm just trying to drag myself to the finish line. And this new clinical site seems fun, but I did want to say, you are normally the fancy one wearing a suit and stuff. Today, I'm wearing khakis during this podcast.
Is that dressing up? That's dressing up
for me. Yes, it is. I'm normally in gym shorts, so I didn't want to, embarrass you by having gym shorts and workout equipment, today.
Hey, this is a podcast. Most people just listen to it anyway, so they don't know what you're wearing.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The economy is so fast that it's really hard to organize people in the association business in the trucking industry, and that's a great problem to have. And the supply chains and knots all across the world, but trucking companies and truckers are making money right now. They've certainly got a bunch of challenges. Personally, I've been chasing my 2.5-year-old daughter. I looked down, I have this purple bracelet on today. Took her to her first arcade over the 4th of July, which was just overstimulation, but it was fun to watch her get in there and try to mix it up with older kids as a 2.5-year-old. And she's got a full spirit, but she won these bracelets that she had. And so a couple of weeks ago. And so now this morning we were leaving, I was going to take her to school, and she wanted to make us bracelet buddies. So she wore the pink one and I wore the purple one. So I'm sporting a purple arcade bracelet today. But,
that's awesome.
We're doing great, man. Well, hey, today is exciting because we're going to flip the switch. You usually take the lead on interviewing folks. And today we're going to get to talk a little bit about the Trucking Fitness Company, which you birthed and created in 2019. I personally have, that's really how we met. I mean, we picked up each other's accounts on social media because of the great work that you were doing to highlight an issue that is systemic within the trucking industry. Most people that have been in it know it, and that's the health and wellness of the American trucker. And I know you'll talk a little bit about that, but you caught my eye. Your platform's the way you talk about the problem, not to promote, just, hey, you need to work out, and here's a solution for you to get some workouts if you're a trucker. It's to talk about the real problem that is in this industry, and that's really what brought my attention to the Trucking Fitness Company. So to kick us off, I mean, you're an entrepreneur at heart. I mean, anybody who's gotten to know you, it seeds through every part of your being. It's that you have that gene. Think back to the moment when the light bulb went off in your head for that idea of the Trucking Fitness Company. Talk about that experience.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm excited to talk about this. I love talking about entrepreneurialism, if I can say it correctly. And I also just really passionate about drivers' health. And, I think the biggest thing for me when this whole thing started is I kind of describe myself as a mission-driven person. And I think that when I was going through school initially, I really was just kind of on this journey to find my mission, if that makes sense. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs can resonate with that. And, I was actually on my first clinical rotation in Southern Missouri, working in an outpatient clinic, and I got to work with a ton of truck drivers. And, Southern Missouri is has a bunch of trucking that goes in and out. And I was working specifically with one guy who he just had his knee replaced, had a total knee replacement. And he had been driving, I think he was driving for 30, 40 years. And it was just one of those things that now looking back, he was he was trucking. He lived and breathed it. He was, just very passionate about trucking and very thankful for what it's done for him and his family. And I saw from a healthcare perspective, how impactful that was from, the way he talked about it, how passionate he was. But I also saw from, really the reason why he was in the clinic in the first place was because of the lifestyle he lived on the road. And when I started talking to him, one of the questions I asked was, hey, how often do you exercise? How is your health out there when you're driving? And it was just one of those, he looked at me and it was just one of those like confused looks of, I'm a truck driver. We don't do that. Right. And I could, that was kind of one of those light bulb moments where I was like, okay, well, here's maybe my mission. I know I can do something here. And, I know there's a huge need for it. And I actually previously had a company that did online health and wellness coaching for CrossFitters, powerlifters, and that realm of things. And so I had a lot of knowledge on kind of the logistics behind how to do online coaching and how to build an app-based platform, specifically in the health and wellness sector. And so that was kind of the combining pieces along with that light bulb moment of stretching this guy's knee out, trying to get his knee fully bending because he just had it completely replaced, and him saying, hey, we don't do that. And just really seeing that there was this mindset shift that needed to happen for a lot of drivers. And being, my entrepreneurial myself, I was like, I can be that person to create this movement, create this shift. And that was really the sparking moment.
Well, and then take us from, and that's great. We all have great ideas. I mean, many people do, but then taking that great idea from your head to paper and then, or the computer screen, and then from there, bringing it to life where it's a product and a service that really makes a difference in people's life. Talk about that journey. Yeah.
So I went home after that day of working. I was like thinking about it the whole time, the rest of the day when I was doing it. And I went home and I was like, I think I started out with like health statistics on truck drivers. And I just like spent hours reading some of the, research and some of the literature on that, and just seeing like, okay, you've got this group of 3.5 million people in the United States. If you throw Canada in there, maybe we're getting close to 4 million people in North America that drive trucks for a living, right? And you've got 4 million people, 85% of them are overweight, 1 in 7 have diabetes, and as a whole, they have a life expectancy 16 years less than the average population. And that moment of where I'm reading these statistics and I'm sitting back here and I'm just like, holy crap, like there something needs to be done here, because they are bringing my food to the grocery store, and they're sacrificing not only time for their family, not only time for their whole lifestyle is completely flipped versus the average person, if you want to put it that way, but they're literally dying early, and they're sacrificing years off their life. And, I am a big component that something is always going to be better than nothing. And, no driver who works with me is going to compete against Arnold Schwarzenegger in a bodybuilding competition, but they are, they can make an impact on their health and the, trajectory of kind of where they're going. Health wise. And that was kind of the mission. And so I kind of took a step back and kind of, like you said, putting it on paper is, okay, how can I create something that is, going to, I guess, honestly, like be realistic for their lifestyle when they're out on the road. And do something that is like actually, yeah, just like actually possible for them. And so I just kind of, what I initially did was go out and talk to a bunch of drivers. And it actually started with a ton of the drivers that I was working with in the clinic, and just kind of hearing about their lifestyle, hearing about, yeah, because to be honest, a little over a year ago, I'd never been in a semi before, right? I didn't know trucking at all. And, I think some people might look at that as a bad thing, but I kind of look at it as I'm coming in with a fresh pair of fresh eyes and different perspective. But so I really just started looking at it and realizing, okay, hey, if I'm going to do something like this, it needs to be something they can do anywhere in the world at any time. No gym, they're not carrying barbells around or dumbbells in their truck. Something they can do and just open it up right on their phone and just click go and get started. And it also, because of the constraints time wise, I knew that it wasn't going to be something where here's an hour-long workout every single day, right? So I kind of took that and then brought it back into my, health, being in the health and wellness field and just medical field, and saying, okay, how can I adapt what I know people need to, do to be healthy, something that can fit into a driver's lifestyle. And I just went for it. And that's kind of where we came up with the app-based platform that we have today.
Well, I know it's over a year ago that we connected, and I tried out the product personally. I'm not a truck driver, but signed up, got the app, and really it was a user-friendly process to get the platform on my phone from start to finish. And I know you've refined that even further. We'll get there in a minute. But then to just try out, I know it came with at the time a fitness band, which is, resistance bands are a great way to get on the fly resistance, which you and I both talked. We were both into fitness to a certain degree for our mental and physical health, and spiritual health. And so, I really enjoyed it. And I did some of the workouts. I mean, you had some 5-minute quick ones if you just needed to get your blood flow up. And then there were 25, 30-minute sessions, which was stuff that, and I'll tell you, I mean, and I'm a relatively fit guy, but they did get your heart rate up. I mean, there's stuff I know that could be scaled for depending on where a person is in their fitness routine or fitness lifestyle. And so, I personally just found it an easy platform to set up. A lot of times, you find something and just at some point, in the setup process or in the implementation, you get frustrated and then you put it down. I found it to be, even in, I think that may have been your first or second generation of it. It was very efficient. So talk a little more about just the app itself in its current form today and the platform itself. If you're a truck driver or a company promoting it, but more so the user, how does it exist, and talk about those that would experience it, how they could use it to transform their daily routines.
Yeah, and you kind of hit something right there with like the first or second generation is, when I first started this, I, realized that if I'm going to make something really special for trucking, it can't stop adapting. So I think we're on like version 6, 7, and just refining every single day, just trying to figure out how we can make it better. But, kind of going from a user standpoint or the driver's perspective, what we do is they sign up on our website. You can sign up as an individual driver, or, we work with some owner operators, individual drivers, or if your company works with us as a corporate wellness program. And what we do is once the drivers sign up, then they get an email right to their inbox. It's one click, they click it, they fill out some information. There's a questionnaire that they give us some general information on. Hey, when was the last time you exercised? What's your current fitness level? What's your current, if you want to share with us, what are some, what's your current health status, right? Because if, you're going in, Mark, and you're a truck driver we're working with versus a guy who's been driving for 40 years and hasn't exercised since high school, there's no reason you guys need to have the same workout program. So we have different levels, and we put people in different paths based on, their current fitness and health level. And so when someone gets into our program, the app's right on their phone, and every single day they can click on the app. They've got 2 different workouts they do. One is a exercise of the day, which is just the easiest entry point into here's something to do exercise. You've got 5 minutes. Here's one exercise you can do just to get your blood flowing, get movement, and also just get in the habit of every single day moving a little bit. The other one is the personalized workout that is 20 to 30 minutes. It's personalized based on, if you want to work out in your truck or out right outside of your truck, and based off of your fitness level, if you're just a beginner, or, you're someone who exercises a ton, but just wants a little bit more guidance, or wants to be a part of the community. And then what we send daily messages within the app to, hey, Mark, here's your workout. Your workout's ready for you. Some accountability, some, tips or tricks here and there, and just some advice on, building in healthy habits into your lifestyle when you're out on the road. And then we also have a ton of nutrition advice from restaurant guides that, help drivers eat the healthiest, find the healthiest meal at McDonald's, to, helping them build a healthy meal at a truck stop. So, what we're really trying to do is within our app, build it very specific to trucking, and build it to the lifestyle a truck driver lives out on the road, and just really try to hit those pain points of, okay, I can only eat at McDonald's. Okay, well, hey, let's not focus on that you can only eat at McDonald's. Let's take a step back and let's focus on what you can control, which is, hey, what's the healthiest option at McDonald's, right? And just, I think that a lot of people get caught up with their health, that they have to be all the way at the finish line when they're, 5 miles away at the starting point. And just, we're trying to give drivers the first steps, and just helping them into that entry point, and getting them doing something, and getting them, the accountability, and, also the encouragement that they can do something.
Well, that's great. You brought up the nutrition component too. I've used that a lot because I travel a lot. I'm on the road a lot for my job around the state of Alabama on the interstates, and utilize a lot of the same, venues that a truck driver would when I need to stop in for a quick meal or a snack. And, it's not making, perfect the enemy of good, right? I mean, you have this option, instead of saying, oh, well, you have to eat these kind of things, and so don't go there and avoid this. That's not reality. So, that's a very practical way to just make a little bit better, healthier choices. And I'll tell you, you really do a great job on the marketing front, from the way you talk about these issues, the problem that's out there, the healthcare of the American trucker, how, it affects the company's bottom line from a company standpoint, how it affects the driver's health, using great analogies to draw, compare and contrast. And so you really do, for those who don't follow you, they really should. Anybody in the trucking industry should, especially thought leaders, whether you're a company, association leader, because you're talking about an issue in a way that's effective, most importantly, and it's real. I mean, it's a real problem. And, you're not so much talking about, oh, and I've got this trucking fitness company that can solve your problem. It's not so much that. It's more so awareness. And you've really become a thought leader on the health and wellness of the trucking industry. More so, there's some others that I've noticed out there, and I'm new to the business too. So, but quickly learn this is an area where, if you're in the trucking industry and you're a thought leader, we have to talk about this and raise awareness. That's the first phase. It's like we talked a lot about this with human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
I know we'll have a podcast where we focus on that, but first is just the awareness. Once you become aware of a problem that matters and affects people's lives, that's one thing. But then that leaves you with, you have a choice. You can ignore the problem, or you have to take action. And as we know, you and I've talked about this, most people, good folks, they're going to want to take action. And then we show them how do you take action. But talk a little bit more about your social media, not just social media, but the way you communicate about this problem within the industry, and feedback you've gotten from folks if you've done that.
Yeah, I kind of bringing it back to the whole entrepreneur. I really, as I got into it, started looking at the trucking industry, taking a step back from just the drivers and realizing that, if the drivers are unhealthy, it's really affecting everyone. If it's from the companies and costing companies, money from health insurance, work comp, retention, right? And, even safety issues from a driver fatigue standpoint, right? And, I realized that if we can find a solution for drivers, if we can find a solution for the drivers that can be sustainable and they can actually do when they're out on the road, everyone's going to win. And what I like to talk about specifically on LinkedIn is, I really like to bring up some of the comparisons of how drivers' health is affecting the other aspects of the trucking industry, other than the driver's quality of life. And I think that there's a ton of areas where the trucking companies, I think they recognize it, but I think some of them, kind of what you mentioned there, they didn't have, either they didn't have the solution or they didn't have the resources to go and implement a solution for their drivers. So it's kind of been one of those things that just gets swept under the rug. And I've from day one, I knew I was not the only person talking about driver's health in the industry. And to be 100% honest, I am thankful I'm not, because this is such a big problem that if, I'd be fooling myself if I think that I can solve the whole problem in the industry all by myself. This is an uphill battle that, if we can get an army, and, one of the reasons why I love talking to you, Mark, is because, I feel like you're one of the guys behind, on our team caring about this issue, and you're helping push it forward. And I think it's going to take, just more and more of, industry influence, people in the industry that influence the, at each level. So, from the association, from the major, companies, but also from, drivers who other drivers look at, who are recognizing this problem. And, my goal with the trucking fitness company is to give an actionable solution that not only we can empower companies to care about this problem, but if they want to actually solve it and give their drivers something that they can do, boom, the trucking fitness company, here's our solution. And that's kind of been our mission. And as we go forward, our goal is to kind of continue getting in with areas of influence from the state association state associations to the trucking companies, and really cause that trickle down effect into the drivers. Because I think that when I kind of bring it back to that mindset of drivers not thinking it's possible, oh, I'm a truck driver, we don't do that. I think that the carriers and the state associations and the people that kind of influence from a different level, the drivers, have the ability to help those drivers recognize that, number one, they have someone who cares about them enough that they're going to give them resources and guidance to, help their health and wellness, but also to say, hey, you can actually do this, and we want you to do this, and we're going to be on your team. Because, drivers aren't dumb either. They recognize that if carriers get them healthier and they have healthier drivers, that the carriers win too. So I think if we can use this as hey, we're all in this as a team, and we're building this up, and it's going to have a huge impact on you and your family, because your quality of life, and, after trucking, you can actually enjoy your retirement and your fruits of your labor. I think that's where the shift happens in the industry. And that's kind of how I'm trying to spearhead this movement. And, things like this podcast, things like the, content on LinkedIn, content on other social media platforms, are just trying to start the conversation. And that's been kind of my mission since day one.
Yeah, well, and we talk a lot about on here each episode about the shift in culture. And, in Alabama, people will roll their eyes, and probably around the country, Alabama football is very popular, and they've been very successful over the last, decade or so under the coach there, Nick Saban. And they talk a lot about culture. And Chick-fil-A is another company that most people be familiar with, where the culture perpetuates itself once you adopt it. And once it gets into every function of what you do, you attract people who want to live a healthy lifestyle. You take folks who might not know how, and they, inside them, something shifts and they want to be part of that culture where, oh yeah, this is something I want to do, not a box we check, but a lifestyle we lead. And so, and it's also about habit. You've talked a lot about that, whether it's eating or exercising, just like prayer. I mean, the more you do it, the more you want to do it. And so, and that sense of community as well. I know that's part of the platform, is creating that sense of community where it's not just like, hey, it's on you to do your exercise and good luck. It's about creating that support structure, allow people to go on that journey together. Speaking of a journey, talk about, I mean, I know you've gotten some feedback since you created it, the Trucking Fitness Company in 2020. But talk about a personal story with a driver that has adopted the platform and really made that decision and is going through that life shift.
Yeah, I think the one story that kind of comes to my mind first is one of our drivers who, she is one of those people when we initially started, version 1 of the Trucking Fitness Company did not have in the truck workouts. And she was one of the first people that we beta tested with the product. And this was back last year. And one of the suggestions was, hey, I'm really self-conscious about, I know two parts. Well, number one, I'm really self-conscious about, my current fitness and health level and my body in general. And I don't want to go outside and work out. And number two, she was out at truck stops and, those are not the safest places, unfortunately, for some drivers. And she didn't feel comfortable working out there. And so she was actually the person who suggested, hey, is there a way that I can do a workout in my truck? And so we, generation 2 came and we introduced in the truck workouts. And she has just been someone who consistently shows up. She's lost, I think, 30 or 40 pounds in the last maybe 6 to 8 months. And it's just one of those things that, yeah, it's not this like huge, oh, in 30 days, I lost 50 pounds, something like that. But it's one of those mindset shifts that you can just tell she gets it. And you can tell that she cares not only about, she's very prideful about her truck and moving freight, but she cares about life after trucking. And she realizes that she can really ruin that and mess that up if she doesn't take care of herself today. And so that was something that she just decided, hey, I'm going to do this for myself and I'm going to do this for, my future self, because I don't want to end trucking early. And I also don't want to work super hard as a driver and make sacrifices in her life that she is doing currently because she's out doing, over the road stuff, and then not be able to enjoy it later in life. So, I log into our back, the back end, we can see, who's doing the workouts, who's signing in. Oh my gosh, Blake is every single day, is coming in and just consistently showing up and doing it. And she's starting to see the payoffs too, which is really cool to see. So that was one person I have in mind. And, I think the thing that we're starting to see is we're starting to see more carriers come in and say, hey, we want to offer something like this to our drivers. And we've got carriers who, are saying, how can we supply this to our drivers? We want to differentiate ourselves from other trucking companies, but also we care about our drivers, on a human level and we don't look at them like some of these carriers that just see them on an Excel sheet. Right. And so that has also been cool to kind of see the, presidents of trucking companies or the head of recruiting or retention come and say, hey, my drivers are fighting. I've got a lot of drivers who have diabetes. I've got a lot of drivers who are overweight. We need something like this. How can we work together? And that's really cool to see. And I honestly think that I'm seeing that's the transition that I really think blows up this movement is when the carriers start getting, because when one carrier gets it, another carrier gets it, and then the trend just keeps going. And that's my goal for the next year, 3 years, 5 years.
Well, congratulations on getting the truck and fitness company off the ground, because that alone is a hard feat for anybody with an entrepreneurial bug who's tried to start a company and bring an idea to life. So as you go from generation to generation, you're leading not only, for this company and hopefully its success, but also for the industry at large, talking about an issue that impacts every single component and has a trickle down effect, good or bad. If you're doing it well, it's good. If we're not, it's bad. But for how do folks find the truck and fitness company?
Yeah. So, if you want to go to our website, truckandfit.com, truckinfit.com, or look up the Truck and Fitness Company on any social media, or Mark Manera on LinkedIn, and I'll put it in the podcast show notes. But, really, if you're a carrier out there, we really are looking to partner with trucking companies, and we actually offer the program and the partnership for free to trucking companies. And then we work with trucking companies to promote our services to the drivers at a discounted rate and, as a payroll deduction benefit for the drivers. And there's ability there for, the trucking company to say, hey, if any driver signs up, we'll pay for their membership, or we'll go 50-50 with them. And there's just endless options there. But I think if you're a carrier, this is a win-win situation for you. You have no skin in the game. It's free for your company to partner with us. It shows your drivers you care. And it's also not a liability of, I don't think either of us, Mark, I don't think, either of us are crazy enough to think that if you have 1,000 drivers, all 1,000 drivers are going to jump out of their seat waiting for a wellness program. But I know there's a portion of your drivers who would really be interested, who are really needing something like this. And it would show them a ton of, it would mean a lot to them that their company cares enough to offer a benefit like this. And I think it's one of those differentiators for companies. So yeah, if anyone's interested, reach out to me. My email will be in the show notes, or go to our website.
Well, I know we'll certainly be talking more about the evolutions as they come in the future and the health and wellness of the American trucker. So this has been a great episode, and I've even learned more, and I was probably more knowledgeable than most people. So thank you for telling your story today, and I'm excited to come back next time with a special guest that I know we've been working on for a while.
Yes. All right. See you guys.
I love how they act like they been around, know when they wasn't. When everything was going downhill, you sat there and just watched me plummet. You never gave a hand, I made my own way out the dungeon. Now I'm making noise, they wondering what's all that ruckus. That's a 18-wheelers in my trailer, I'ma keep it trucking. Big rig driving, cargo hauling, I'ma keep it trucking. You hard moving, F-150, let's just keep it trucking. Out here busting moves, I ain't got time for no discussion.